At the moment, I have R3 and R4 configured with subinterfaces. So for VLAN 2, I have a subinterface 0.2 on R3 with the IP address 10.1.2.3. And I have a respective interface on R4 10.1.2.4. Currently, they can communicate across this trunking connection. So if I ping, for example, from R4, R3 in VLAN 2, I'm going to get the reply. And I have the respective interfaces for VLAN 3. So this is R3. I can ping the other end, which is 10.1.3.4, router 4, across the trunking interface. This will allow the communication for hello packets between the routers, and they can actually watch each other for a failure. So here I'm going to create a now configuration HSRP config on R3 and R4 for VLAN 2, and I'm going to ensure R3 is the active router for VLAN 2. How am I going to do that? So let's just clear the terminal here, and I'm going to jump to interface E00.2, and I'm going to add on this subinterface the following command: standby, and the group number is going to be number 2 for VLAN 2 for consistency sakes, and the mandatory parameter is the virtual gateway IP for VLAN 2, which is going to be IP 10.1.2.254. So that is the mandatory command I need to do on both ends of a connection. So I'm going to jump here to conft, maybe interface E01.2. So this is the sub interface, and I'm going to here this one, and I'm going to maybe clear terminal, and I'm going to add the same command that I have on R3, which is the gateway. Meanwhile, R3 was trying to go through stages like listen, speak, standby, active. It has already become an active router. Now I need to add the same command here. Copy and paste to make this guy a standby. Why standby? Because active has already been elected. Now I'm going to actually display that. Do show standby brief. So as soon as the R4 does its job, it became standby. Let's do it again. Repeat my command. It says that on Ethernet 0/0.2, there's a standby group or HSRP group number 2. Current priority is 100. This device local is an active router with the IP address virtual 10.1.2.254, which I already changed on the PC to point as their gateway in VLAN 2. And the standby guy is this physical or real IP address. If I do the same command here on R4, do show standby brief, I see that the local is a standby box and active is 10.1.2.3. I want to ensure that R3 is always an active router. So what I'm going to do is for this standby group number 2, I'm going to add the keyword priority 110. The default is 100. And I'm going to do preempt keyword. So do show run interface E00.2. Let's see the full configuration here. We have a virtual IP. We have, for the group number 2, priority 110 and preempt. If I display do show standby, the whole thing without a brief keyword, there's a virtual MAC address that is created. It'll be responding to ARP requests, and R3 is going to be the responder, as it is the active router for VLAN 2. Now this is a virtual IP address. Hello are sent. Preemption is enabled. Standby router has priority 100. We are 110, so we are winning here even upon the failure. So our priority is 110. Now the same should be repeated for So interface E00.3, but I'm going to do this on R4 first. And interface here is interface E013, standby 3, IP address for the gateway will be 10.1.3.254. I'm gonna make priority on this one, 110, and preempt command. And on the other, I am going to just add this command. So that is gonna ensure that R4 is the active router in HSRP for VLAN 3. On this one, I'm gonna add just this. So let's wait for them to exchange hello packets and elect active and standby box, and show standby brief. So they are now speaking, trying to elect. So there's a listen, speak, standby, and active states. Once it's done, we'll see the log message. There it is. And this guy is a standby for VLAN 3. So group is 3 on VLAN 3 sub interface with the priority 100. Whereas this one, let's go show standby brief, is an active for that. Now, I already changed the configuration for gateway pointing to the new virtual IP address. And now, if I want to ping 10.1.3.103, it is going through virtual gateways, which actually show IP ARP. We can see with the virtual address, it's a constructed with 0C, 07, AC. So the last 3 bytes, which is 07, AC, those two indicate it is a HSRP configuration. 02 is the group number. So this is group number 2 of VLAN 2. If I send the ping packets now, so the active router currently for VLAN 2 is obviously router 3, 10.1.3.103, and repeat it lots of times. Repeat. If I bring down the interface here, so this is my active router here for VLAN 2. If I bring the E02, the R4 should become an active router for that VLAN 2 as well. Let's see that happen. So I'm going to bring down the interface E02 on switch 1. So the ping is still working, I suppose, yeah. Interface E02 shut down. The ping packets are actually finished. So now re-election occurs, and there we go again. So at this point, we have router 4 has become inactive for both. If I bring this interface back up, there's a preemption configured. So in a second, I'm going to start losing packets again. In a few seconds, the R4 is going to release its role for active in VLAN 2. So now this spanning tree is kicking in. Meanwhile, traffic obviously goes through. And in a few seconds, the re-election, there we go. Re-election is occurring, and there we go. And it just happens. So first spanning tree kicked in, which is 30 seconds, and then re-election occurred again. We have this one as active for VLAN 3 and standby for VLAN 2. So I hope that explains in a nutshell how this works, and we're going to move on to the next topic in the next video.